Hello crafty friends, it's Brenda from Stamping with the Copper Cropper. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I'm here today to show you how to make this adorable little mini album, or another version of it, the Post-it note holder. My manager made this for me a few years back. It's really adorable and it's a great little mini scrapbook. You can see it just opens up here. Her version has a magnet on it and she's got lots of little pages in here. It comes out both ways and it makes a great little mini photo album. Now a couple months ago, not years, my daughter decided that all of the stuff on my stamping display was outdated because it's old designer papers, and she made this new version here for me using our fresh floral papers and the in color of Berry Burst. Now hers pops open and she used a little piece of Velcro. Now this one she made is actually an album, but I stuck a Post-it note holder in it so I can show you how the measurements are perfect. You can adhere a little Post-it note holder in here and you've got a great little Post-it note party favor. But this one has smaller pages and this is the version I'm going to make today, and I will explain how to do it as an album or as the Post-it note holder. It's a little bit different than the two samples that I showed you. I changed my theme up a little bit because St. Patrick's Day is on the way and I wanted to go with something, and I made this embellishment here with this little shamrock, and I changed the paper up. The reason that I did that is my mom hosts her Bongo Club in March and she's going to want St. Patrick's Day themed favors, so this way I'll have a few samples to show her. I'm also going to use one of the ones that I've made. For every year my family has a big St. Patrick's Day party, and they party the Patton way. And they take a lot of great photos so I can put them in my album. Now this is the paper that I'm going to use. This is from the Bubble Over Designer Series paper that you can get for free during Celebration when you purchase $50. And I love this paper and I've used it a lot. This one's cut and scored for today's project and I have no more. So I'm going to use a different sheet of paper to show you, but then I'll use this sheet when we actually do the project. Now the measurements for this project are 11 by 3 1/4 for the Designer Series paper. So you want to start by cutting your paper down to 8 inches. So we're going to cut this piece of paper. This was originally a 12 by 12 sheet. So we're cutting the length down to 8 inches. Now on the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, remember the light blade scores, so we need the dark blade. Now our paper is the right length, so I'm going to turn it and it's going to be 3 1/4 inch for the width. After you cut it, push your dark cutting blade out of the way. We're now going to use the light scoring blade, and we're going to score it at 2 1/2, 3, 6, and 6 1/2. Now remember, when you score your paper, this is Designer Series paper, so it's thinner than cardstock. You don't want to get heavy-handed with your scoring blade. Just a light pull with a little pressure back and forth will do it. Because if you do it too firmly, you're going to put a hole right in the middle of that paper, or after a few folds, your paper will fall apart on you. And the last one here, 6 1/2. So I scored that at 2 1/2, 3, 6, and 6 1/2. Now you probably can't see the score lines, but you can see me fold them. And I'm folding them in. Now you've got this little box-like section down there. That creates a little bit of room when you close this cover to fit all your pages in. If you want, you can take your bone folder. I would take mine if I could remember where I put it. Here it is. And just go over your score lines to make sure you have a nice, crisp, clean fold. That makes it a lot easier when you're working if you got a good, crisp fold. Okay. Now, that's this piece. And you can see I also went and used the corner rounder and rounded that. Now we're going to take a piece of lemon lime cardstock and we're going to cut one page, and then I've got a couple more pages pre-cut that I'll show you. Now this paper has to be 9 by 3, and since it's an 8.5 by 11 piece, we're going to start by cutting it down to 9. Then we're going to turn it and cut it to 3. Just save the scrap there that I just cut off because you're going to need some scraps for your embellishment. Okay. Now you're going to score this at 3 inches and 6 inches. This is cardstock, not designer series paper, so you'll use a little bit firmer pressure on it. And then the same thing, take your score, fold them in, then take your bone folder and go over it so they get nice and crisp. Now I've got a couple of them pre-cut here so I can show you how we're going to assemble this. I've got 3 pages here and I'm going to show you how this is done. This is our base. And you want to put each page down in the center square. You want this one to fold up and this to fold up. And so you're going to put one down in the middle. Then you can put another down right over top of it to open the other way. Then if you want it to pop out, you can put one there. You can add one down the bottom depending on how many pages you want. If you want a lot of pages, then you just take and you adhere 2 of these pieces together. Then when you go down, your pages will extend and it'll keep folding up. We're just going to put 2 pages down just so you can see how it's done. Now to put this down, I'm going to use Stampin' Up's tear-in tape. The reason I'm using the tear-in tape is I want an adhesive that's going to hold these pages in. I'm going to decorate the pages. I'm going to add photos from my family's St. Patrick's Day party onto this. So I want a good strong adhesive so that the pages don't rip out. Now tear-in tape, a little tip for that is after you put it on, rub your finger really good on top of it. The warmth from your finger will help it to stick down, but it'll also make it easier for you to tear the little pieces off. You just grab it with your fingernail and pull it off. And now I'm going to take that piece and I'm going to line it up right in the center, being mindful not to put it on my score lines. Otherwise, you won't be able to get your book to close when you're done here. Okay, good. So now I've got one piece in, and since I want a second page, I'm going to add a second one in this way. That's all the pages that I plan to do. And just to save time, we're only going to leave this one page in, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to make the embellishment and how to do the closure. We're going to start with the embellishment. Now to make the embellishment, I used Stampin' Up's stacking framelit for their circle, and this one makes this nice little edge. So these two are going to be put together and they're going to create this embellishment. It's really easy to make. I'm just going to tell you how and give you a few pointers and then you can do it. One piece of the lemon lime scrap cut with the framelit. One piece of Whisper White cut. Then you take some of the scrap that you had left over and you use a small heart punch and you punch some little hearts out. Now you have 3 little hearts. We're making a shamrock here. So what I've done is I just take my fingernail right in between the two, poke it down, and then fold it right down the middle. You'll get something that looks like this. It's just a little heart, fold it in. But when you put it on your white piece of paper, that's going to be the top of your shamrock. Now you're going to do that 2 more times. Now you might not be able to see it in the video, but I've taken a sponge dauber and I went around the edges of my white paper to give it a little bit of color. I don't know if you can see that, but there's just a little hint of lemon lime on there. I used the lemon lime ink and the little dauber. It's real easy to do this. Just open your ink up, pounce your dauber on it a few times, and then just flick that around your edges lightly, depending on how much ink you want, how much. You can do it real light or real dark. Now we've got all the pieces for the embellishment. Now on this sample that I showed you, I used a marker to put my stem on, and I did not like the way that looked. So I cut extra hearts out for this one, and I just went and cut the paper to make the stem. So after you have all of your parts ready, you'll just use some glue dots and, well, I used Stampin' Up! Dimensionals and put them together. Use some little glue dots and place this the way you want it. Then cut a little stem out. That's all there is to making that. Now you want to place that on the front of your book so you can use it as your closure. And I can see that I corner rounded the wrong section of the paper. So let me get my envelope punch board that I've got laying here. And I'm just going to fix that because it's going to bother me. Now we're going to make the closure. I've got my paper. I've got my page in. As many pages as you want, just put them in there. Now you're ready to do your closure. What you want to use to do that is some Velcro. You can get this stuff at the dollar store. It works great. Just take a sheet out, and when you do this, you want to make sure that you put your adhesive on the top of your embellishment, but nothing on the bottom. You can see on Anna's here how there's this piece hangs over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my adhesive and I'm going to stick this down. Just a little bit of adhesive where I want it on the project. Then just flip it over and put one piece down. Then take the matching piece, put it right down on top of it, and peel your backing off. Now if you just close your album, give it a firm press, it'll stick in just the right spot. Now your album's finished. When you peel it, it'll open and there's your pages. You can use papers, embellishments, whatever you want. Add as many pages and as many little embellishments as you want. If you wanted to do this as the Post-it note holder, like I did this one, just take a Post-it note pad, take a little bit of the tearing tape, put a couple of strips on the back of the tearing tape, But before you put your Post-it note down, cut one 3" by 3" square of coordinating cardstock and put it on the designer paper just because you want to give it a little bit of stability. Then put your Post-it note right on top of that paper with the tear-in tape, and then you have the little Post-it note favor. And that's our project for today. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at coppercropper@gmail.com. And if you'd like to purchase any of the products that I've shown, I have a Stampin' Up store. I'm Brenda Copper. I'm an independent consultant, and my blog is coppercropper.com.